Very creepy stories found on the internet. Before watching, I will ask you to support my channel, We Love Creepy, by liking, subscribing, and commenting. It is very interesting to discuss stories together. Those who want to support my channel can make donate by the link below the video or by this QR code. Also, don't forget to send your stories to email. Maybe they will be in the next video. Make some tea or coffee, grab some snacks, sit back, and we'll get started. The scary story about Seal Man. I'm 16, we're black, and we live in Alabama. My family farms and owns a huge piece of land in Huntsville. My uncle has a big house and a bunch of trailers that he sleeps in when he's hunting. My cousins suggested I go to those trailer places and relax and unwind. They know I'm urban, so they're trying to scare the shit out of me. We take our food and everything we need to stay overnight for a few days. We arrive at camp and notice something strange. The air in this place had a kind of electric smell, like before a thunderstorm, something like the smell of ozone. We don't make a big deal out of it. We unpack and head down to a small creek to swim for a few hours. All of a sudden, some older white guy comes out of the bushes. He was holding a shotgun. He says hello and asks us what we are doing so deep in the woods. We tell him about my uncle, who he knows, and say we're just vacationing. He tells us that we have to be very careful here and stick together. There are big animals in the forest. His son my age asks if he can stay and socialize with us. We say okay. The story is quite long, so we're done playing soccer. We had this white guy with us, 5 of my cousins and 4 friends. There were a total of 5 girls and 6 boys. We were all 15, 17 years old. All day we just did stuff, so we go back to camp and get food to roast on the fire. The trailers did have kitchenettes, though. The white guy, Mark, says my family's territory is right next to his family's territory and he wants to run home and ask his dad if he can come with us on a camping trip. My cousin Jimmy says he will go along with him as it will soon be dark. One of the girls wanted to join them too. It was already about 7 o'clock, starting to get dark. They take flashlights and head toward Mark's land. The rest of us are just resting. We roasted s'mores on the fire, made out with the girls, and drank. After about 30-40 minutes, we smelled the ozone again. It was a very unpleasant copper odor, as if we were all getting nosebleeds. But the smell wasn't exactly like dried blood. It was an unpleasant metallic odor. We immediately thought that some electronics were malfunctioning near us, or someone had left an electric stove on or something. Suddenly we hear voices of people on the path. Jimmy, Mark, and the girl run out to us. It was obvious they were out of breath. They, without slowing down, run into the trailer. We all also go into the trailer and ask what happened. Eventually they calm down. Jimmy was even crying at this point. While we were in the trailer, the fire outside was dying down more and more, so my cousins are like, screw it, and are going to go outside to get the generators out. Mark says, no fucking way. Lock the front door. No one goes outside. He was crying too, his eyes bloodshot and swollen, and his pants were shit dirty. He told us that they approached his house. His father let him stay with us, but warned them to be careful on the way back, and that maybe they should take one of the hunting rifles just in case. As it turned out, a few days before, Mark had seen something in their yard. They found one of their pigs. It was alive but mangled and half-eaten. They assumed it was just some big cats or coyotes, although they don't usually leave animals alive. He went upstairs, gathered his things, and told his father that they would do without a gun because coyotes avoid people. So they walked back to where we were camped. So Rasta finally stops crying and shaking. The girl had already calmed down. She just stared out the window with a mute expression. He says they were already halfway to camp when they started hearing some shit in the woods. By this time, it was almost pitch darkness, so they weren't sure what the hell it was at first. The girl says she heard something in the bushes just off the trail, and they all shined their flashlights there, and there was someone standing near the trees in the woods. Jimmy says they started yelling at him and says he scared the hell out of them and that he's a total asshole. He says that's when he realized the guy had turned his back on them. So they keep going and start to smell the unpleasant copper ozone odor. They look into the woods again, and there's the dude still standing in the woods, still with his back to them, but closer to the path. So they quickened their step, and Mark says he should have taken the damn rifle. After they began to walk faster, some low rumbling like muttering was heard from both sides of the forest. And as they were starting to run toward the trailer, the girl said she shined her flashlight into the woods to the side of them and saw something twitching there. The muttering got louder and louder, and when they saw the light from our campfire, something came out of the woods about 35 meters behind them onto the path. They ran as hard as they could toward the trailer. So we're in the fucking woods, and at this point we thought there were some village idiots or something walking around near us to try to play a joke on us. All of a sudden, my other cousin Junior starts talking about how he went to school with a kid from an Indian tribe who told him about a seal man or something like that shit. We immediately tell him to shut up because we don't feel like listening to creepy stories right now, but he just goes on and on about how he's a fucking asshole, man, and that we're in his neck of the woods and blah blah blah. I had never heard of this seal man at the time, but a couple years ago, a year before I graduated from college, I had a roommate, and I asked him about that seal man. In brief, it's something like a man with the head of a seal who can shapeshift and infiltrate a group of people. He should also be something of a Vindig, and even talking about him is very bad, and even worse if you see him. Mind you, I didn't know that when I was 16, so my cousin says, "The seal man is about to get in here and fucking get us. All the girls are terrified, and my cousin and I are trying to convince everyone that these are just some rednecks or some animal." All of a sudden, this smell disappears. Like to this day, I haven't even experienced anything like this. Like usually odors fade away gradually, and this one was there in 1 second and gone already. Into the second one, and it went on for about an hour. We stopped shitting bricks under ourselves for a bit to go outside and start the fire again. Nothing else strange happened that night, so we stayed another night and nothing happened for most of the night either. Around 1 a.m. we get drunk and start telling ghost stories. As one of us finishes our creepy story, I can't remember what it was about. That smell comes back. It was so damn strong that one of the girls literally starts throwing up. I get up and realize the air is kind of sticky. I say we need to go to the trailer and that everything is somehow wrong. We need to fucking leave now. We all go inside and stand in a circle. My cousin keeps saying it's the seal man. Raster tried to shut him up, but the whole time I had a feeling something was wrong. I couldn't figure it out that. We end up sitting there for a while. The smell is just as strong. We huddle in the trailer in terror. Then we start making sausages because no one wants to come out outside for food. I grill them on the stove and make everyone hot dogs. There were 12 sausages in all. I take mine. After a while, one of my cousins gets up and goes to the stove to get another hot dog. He starts grumbling that I cooked myself 2 pieces and everyone has. One by one, I looked at him like a fool. I tell him that everybody only got one thing. That's when the girl who was with Jimmy and Ten just starts screaming, "Oh, Jesus, oh Lord, put that away." She starts crying and shaking, and then it comes to my cousin's attention that, holy shit, something is wrong. He and I both look around the trailer, and then I feel mine. Heart-stopping, I run the fuck out of the trailer, and that girl runs out with us. We all ran outside. One of my cousin's friends asked us what the hell happened. I start counting us. Now there's 11 of us, but there were 12. My cousin says to me, "Holy fuck." He realized there were 11 of us too, but there were 12 people in the trailer, but like this. How everyone didn't know each other very well. No one noticed all this fucking time that there was an extra person among us, and then I realized exactly what was wrong. You know, when you're just having fun, you're not sweating about anything, and you're not following certain things. I'm pretty sure there was someone else in the trailer with us, and that he stayed with us for at least a day. He ate and drank with us. The girl kept praying to Jesus, and we all sit outside. Eventually, we take a big sticks and go back to the trailer, but there's nobody there. We count again. There's 11 of us. Go back to the trailer and lock the door. We ask this girl what the fuck happened, and she's replies that at one point she too realized that something was wrong, and as she was about to say so, the person sitting next to her grabbed her hard at the leg, leaned over to her and said something to her that she couldn't make out. So we're all freaking out. We're huddled together. I'm falling asleep. When I wake up, the sun is just coming up, and half the people are asleep and the other half are packing. That girl's name was Kate. It was the SEAL man who touched her. Anyway, I asked her if she really thought it was something bad, and she said she just wanted to go home and didn't want to spend another night in the woods alone. Not all of us wanted to go home, so we split up. 4 of us wanted to go home, including me, but the others wanted to stay. But after all, I had the keys to the trailer, so I had to stay behind to lock him up. I was really pissed at this point because I thought some of us weren't taking this shit seriously. And I definitely didn't want to be in the woods another night. I spend the rest of the day trying to convince the other people, 4 girls and 4 guys, to get the hell out of here. Mark leaves to get the rifle and says he'll be back. So by 4 p.m. there were only 7 of us left. Around 5 p.m. he still hadn't come back, and we were starting to get really nervous. And the only reason I stopped begging was because of that. Their return was that our friend went to get a gun. Around 5:30 p.m. or so, one of the cousins says that girl, Kate, is outside. We all look out the trailer window, and indeed, she is standing by the fire with her back to the trailer. I think to myself, if she was so damn scared, why the hell did she come back? And then I get this unpleasant feeling in my stomach. Keep in mind, there was no copper smell the whole time. But then I started to feel him a little bit. I say this to the rest of you and everyone, and these are the people who wanted to stay in the fucking woods after there was a goddamn man among us. SEAL, laughing at me and asking if I made it all up to scare them. I look at them with a look of, I'm not fucking lying to you right now, and ask them why I would do that. Anyway, one of the girls decides to go outside to bring Kate in. She walks out, and halfway there she stops. Kate starts twitching. I don't know how the hell to describe it. It was like she was laughing, but without making a sound. It was after that I realized that the woods were dead quiet. It was in late September, so it was still quite hot at the time, but some days it was very cold. And you could usually hear the cackling of geese, or the chirping of other birds, or the sounds of squirrels. So I walk out the door and tell her to get the hell back to the trailer immediately. She pushes back into the trailer and we lock the door. We lower all but one of the curtains and put the guy in a chair to watch her. She stands there for another 20 minutes or so. The guy turns around to say she's still there. And then we hear a powerful bang on the door. We all literally jumped on the spot. The banging was so damn loud, my cousin was holding one girl in his arms, and the other 2 were giggling nervously, while me and the others piled bricks under ourselves. Then we hear Tanner. He yells, "Let me the fuck inside. Stop joking around." We go and open the door, and he falls in with a rifle. No one else outside. He said nothing strange was happening in the forest, but he did see a girl, but he said it definitely wasn't Kate when he got to the edge of the clearing. She turned to him with a dropped jaw and just stared at him, slowly following him as he walked along the outside of the clearing toward the camp. He said it wasn't until he was almost halfway to the trailer that he realized she was coming toward him. He said he just ran the rest of the way to the trailer thinking the door was open. And when he got to the door and it was locked, he turned around and saw this girl who was still slowly approaching him. Suddenly he fell silent and looked around the room, then turned pale. He took me aside and whispered in my ear, "You do know there are only 7 of us here, right?" My stomach was literally failing. We looked out the window and there was no one there. So I ask everybody how many of us are in this trailer right now, and everybody says 8. I say, okay, how many of us are there right now? Everyone starts counting and then realizes there are only 7 people in the trailer. So Mark took his rifle and a couple boxes of ammunition with him, and he told his father that there was some animal in the woods, because he didn't think his father would believe him if he says he's a human asshole. He said his cousin should be arriving in a few hours, and in the morning we could all go back to his house and his cousin would take us to our homes. At this point I was scared as hell, but at least I felt a little better because we're Americans and we can shoot at anything, if it comes back to us. But then my cousin gets into a loud argument with one of the girls, because she thought I was messing with everyone. And it wasn't funny. He tries to convince her that I is not that kind of person, and I wouldn't play that kind of trick on everybody. And she says, well, how do we know it just wasn't Mark in the wig? Or if it's the SEAL man, how do we know he didn't kill Mark in the... in the woods, and maybe it's not the real Mark. Well, we start a high-profile argument about this, where Mark and I say we may be in grave danger because at least someone snuck into our fucking trailer without our knowledge, or something bad in the woods is just playing with us. One of the girls is crying and saying she wants to get out of here right now, and we try to tell her we can't, because you can't just walk through the woods in the middle of the night right now. We make ourselves food and turn on the radio briefly, but there's no way we can find a station with anything decent. So we turn it off around the time Mark's cousin shows up. He was about 19 years old. I think he had a heavy-duty flashlight and another rifle. He walks up to the trailer and we whisper to Mark, asking if he's sure it's his cousin, and he says yes. He looks back, then enters. His cousin began to look us over strangely. It was obvious that he was confused about something. He says to Mark, "Where's your friend? I thought she'd meet me here. Is she retarded or something?" He also asked if we had cooked the blood racks, because there was a strong smell of blood and something fried near the trailer. We didn't, after all. We asked him which girl he was talking about. He was walking down the same trail that Mark was on and came upon one of our friends standing in the middle of the trail looking at him with a dropped jaw. He started to ask her questions, but all she did was look at him. Then she smiled at him and he said he would go without her. He said she was following him, only very slowly. He told her not to trip and asked if she needed help, but she just kept looking at him. Eventually, he just moved on, but when he turned around and went back to see if she was okay, there was no one on the trail. He figured she'd just taken a shortcut through the woods to our trailer. We tell him the whole story of what's going on. I was almost sure he was going to say we were messing with him, but he just listened and then sat down on the couch. He started talking about that girl again. He says she kept falling behind him. It confused him a lot, so he tried to keep in her line of sight. And he could smell some kind of nasty odor, and it grew stronger as he reached the camp. Eventually, the odor became very strong. Then the girl said something very quietly that he couldn't hear, and when he turned around, she was right behind him, and he almost fell over in surprise. It was at this point that he asked her if she was okay. If not, he could carry her in his arms the rest of the way, but she just kept looking at him. He said he reached for her as if he wanted to put his hand on her shoulder, but he must have underestimated the distance because she somehow ended up on the other side of him, from where he wanted to put his hand, as if she were moving but unnoticed by him, all the while looking him in the eye. So at that point, we could definitely tell it was all happening for real unless he and Mark were joking around. And we could tell for sure they weren't kidding because Mark almost wet his pants, they load their rifles, and we all sit around until about 11 o'clock of the evening. To this day, every time I think of it, I pray to God that it was some well-thought-out joke played by my cousins, and that they are still, so I'll believe it for the rest of my life. Somewhere around 11 p.m., that copper smell turns into the most unpleasant, creepy blood smell, like blood and burnt hair being boiled. Mark and his cousin immediately stand up and grab their rifles. We hear a quiet knocking and scratching at the door, and then we hear a voice that sounds like the way cats or dogs sometimes talk when their owners teach them to talk. Then we hear this intermittent, strange voice utter the words, "Get me the hell down, stop playing." My balls crawled up at this point, and one of the girls just started crying and calling out to Jesus. It was pretty damn obvious it wasn't a human being speaking. There wasn't the right rhythm to his speech. And I'd never really thought about it before, but all humans have their own, a certain rhythm of speech when they speak, no matter what language they speak. All people have a certain rhythm to their speech. This shit had no rhythm. It sounded like one of those mewling cats that people film and put on YouTube. That's exactly what the voice outside the door sounded like. I was absolutely terrified. We keep yelling back at him, "Who is it?" And he just replies, "Inside," or "Get me the fuck down," for almost 15 minutes. And there's a link attached to a video of a cat mewling like that. And so guys, don't freak out, I'm about to show you this video. It sounded pretty much the same, except we weren't laughing. I'm sorry, of course, but if you can't imagine what that shit sounded like, then you have no idea how fucked up the whole situation was. For a while that odor goes away, and for the next hour or so, we heard someone crawling in the woods near the trailer and shit. Every couple minutes it would return to the door and say something unintelligible. Finally, when the smell fades, it was about 2 in the morning. Reese, Mark's cousin, says, "Screw this," and opens the door, stepping outside with his rifle. He shoots into the air and says something like, "In the name of Jesus Christ, go away." He fires 2 more times, and then from the woods, right by the river across from the trailer, you hear someone loudly mumbling and hooting. Then it starts screaming, and it sounded almost as if a woman and a cat were screaming at the same time. I've never heard anything like it. And then we heard the bushes near the road begin to shake. Reese shoots toward the trees, then starts to stalk toward the trailer. We lock the door and hear this shit screaming and yelling. Reese says something came out of the bushes. It crawled along the ground towards the trailer, and he shot it. That's about how the rest of the night went. For the next 2 hours it screamed constantly, and we could hear it walking through the woods, but it never came near the trailer again. And we were all able to sleep. Only Mark was awake. He sat in his chair and watched the door through the scope of his rifle. No one else heard or saw it. He said he dozed off after the screaming and noise finally stopped. And he was almost asleep when he saw someone come out of the bathroom and then lie down in the middle of the floor and fall asleep. He assumed it was one of us and dozed off. Then he said he seemed to realize something was wrong and, pretending to be asleep, counted us. There were 9 of us in the trailer. He didn't want to shoot the damn thing lest it kill us all later, so he stayed up all night pretending to sleep. He said that sometimes this someone would get up and start shaking a little like he was laughing, but then lay back down. We woke up and noticed that Mark was a little nervous and avoided looking at us. We had breakfast, packed up, and went to his house. He was the last one left in the trailer and said he would lock it up and bring them to me. We went. He said he'd catch up with us. How much I didn't want to leave him alone. We walked up the path a bit, and when he ran up to us, we all ran to his house. His cousin then drove us home, and he said that when he was closing the trailer, he noticed the bathroom window was open. We were too stupid to lock him up. My guess is that it waited until we were all asleep and then just infiltrated our group. It has been with us all these days and more. Mark said that as he was catching up with us on the way to his house, he noticed that he was walking among us, and we didn't even notice it, as if it were our friend. It turned, looked Mark straight in the eye, and then just walked off into the woods. Thank you all for your attention. Please subscribe to my channel, We Love Creepy. Share this video with your friends, comment and like. Those who want to support my channel can donate by the link below the video or by this QR code. Thank you, take care, and bye-bye.